What's up, people? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about everything you know. Man, how many times do I have to do this? What's up, people? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about getting lean in just 5 minutes. So the biggest thing you need to know about getting lean is that you have to be in a caloric deficit for long enough. But what the heck is a caloric deficit? If you've ever seen people talk about energy balance in physique, people are talking about calories, right? So energy equals calories. If you didn't know that, calories are just the energy that's in food. I think the most important thing I want to say is that if you're the person out there who's fishing for the perfect fad diet, whether it's paleo or vegan or Whole30 or carnivore or keto or the Jenny Craig diet or Weight Watchers or whatever other kind of diet there might be out there, every single diet that you see that's been popularized for fat loss is trying to achieve the same thing. And it's just to get you into a calorie deficit. So now that we're talking about calories, it's just really important that you understand that calories are energy. So if you have a lot of body fat stored in your body, you're literally storing energy. And if you don't want to have that body fat, then you have to get rid of that energy. And if calories are energy, we can get rid of the body fat by reducing our calorie intake. So when you hear people say calorie deficit in the fitness space, they're saying you need to be eating less than you are right now. The second thing I want to say about getting lean is that people don't realize that your metabolism is adaptive. Like, your metabolism is not just one fixed number for your entire life. People always say, well, I turned 25 and then my metabolism went downhill. Okay, your metabolism does like slightly decline as you age, but it's not like that. What probably happened is that you went to college, stopped working out, ate a ton of food, and puffed up like a penguin. Calories are generally broken down into 3 major macronutrient categories. You have proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, right? Let's keep it super simple. Proteins have 4 calories per gram, carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram, and fats have 9 calories per gram. But before we run off demonizing fats because they have more than twice the calories as proteins and carbohydrates per gram, you just have to realize that every macronutrient has a different function, right? So again, super broad scope here. Carbohydrates are pretty much your energy source. Fats are going to be for your hormonal health primarily. And proteins are essentially the building blocks of muscle, and that's the macronutrient we look to most often in the fitness space for building muscle. All right, so far we've established that getting lean is just about getting into a calorie deficit for long enough to see the results. The problem is that people go too hard in the paint for not long enough time because it's just not sustainable. And you know exactly what I mean if you've ever tried to diet. So you've been doing your thing, you've been popping your nachos, popping your pizza, drinking your beer, and doing all the things, and then you have that moment where you're like, this is it. This is the day it stops. From now on, it's only leafy salads and grilled chicken until it gets shredded. Everybody's been there, everyone's tried that. What happens? It never works because you burn out. You burn in like 2 days because that's just not sustainable. And guess what? You don't need to be in that much of a calorie deficit. On my last fat loss effort, when I lost 31 pounds, I reduced my calorie intake by a bagel's worth and lost the first 18 pounds. Yeah, you heard that right. I literally reduced what I was eating from all of the food I was eating to all of the food I was eating minus a bagel's worth of calories, and I lost 18 pounds. So the point is, your calorie deficit should probably be pretty modest. And I say that because dieting is absolutely a skill. Dieting is a skill just like playing basketball is a skill, like playing an instrument is a skill, like being a more organized person is a skill. You're just not gonna be good at it from day one. And if you don't know what you're doing, play the slow game. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. If we're talking about calories, let's talk about where we're supposed to get those calories from, right? There's this big popular movement called flexible dieting, which basically says you can eat whatever you want as long as your calories are in check. And while that is probably true from like a purely mathematical point of view, I think we can all agree and use our noggins a little bit and know that you're probably not gonna be the same level of healthy or active or productive or even feel as good if you're getting all of your calories from the 3 Ps, I call them, pixie sticks, protein shakes, and peanut butter, carbs, proteins, fats, is if you got a really balanced, nutritious diet from Whole Foods, kind of all those things that your mom told you were good for you growing up, like eat your veggies, eat your lean proteins, your whole grains, kind of all those things we know are good for you. That's probably a better bet in terms of where you get your calories than just smashing Pop-Tarts, sodas, empty sort of 2020 American junk food calories. But I know what a lot of people are probably thinking at this point. They're probably like, oh man, he's gonna tell me to track my calories. He's gonna tell me to get into my Fitness Pal or Chronometer or the Carbon app from Layne Norton, and I just don't want to do that. I don't want to track my calories, so like fat loss isn't for me and I'm never gonna lose fat. It doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to track your calories to lose weight because your body doesn't know if you're poking things into your phone or not. Your body just doesn't know. If you're a person who likes knowing exactly what you're getting and you want super predictable results, tracking is awesome. I love tracking. Tracking is good for my life. I don't have a negative association with tracking, but you don't have to track if you don't want to. But you still have to play by the same rules, right? That's why these diets exist, because people need hard, fast rules to follow for practicality's sake, not because that's actually required. Does that make sense? All these diets like vegan, no meat, no animal products, right? Carnivore, the opposite, just eat meat. Weight Watchers, points, right? People just need structure. And if you don't have structure, you can't follow it, right? So that moves on to my next point, in that adherence is king. And you're gonna have to make a decision at some point in your fat loss journey, whether you want to be the most science and evidence-based possible, or if you wanna bend a little bit just for the sake of your own adherence. Because as cool as science-based is, getting actual results because you could adhere to them and it was sustainable is a lot cooler, in my opinion. Once you understand that losing body fat is about getting into a caloric deficit for long enough to actually burn off the fat, then you just have to translate that information into the two big categories of your life, which is firstly, preference. What do you like to eat? What are the foods you enjoy? And then secondly, your lifestyle. How many times could you actually eat per day if you wanted to? Do you have a lot of work meetings? Do you fly a lot? Do you travel? Do you eat from home? What is it? Everything about your lifestyle is relevant. And what's irritating about so many things in the fitness space is that people will pitch you this one plan and it won't work for people. You know what I mean? Like if there's a single mom who is being told that she needs to eat protein 6 times per day, man, that single mom's just gonna get really probably discouraged because it's not a reality for her life. Maybe she gets to eat 3 bigger meals a day and that's all she gets, right? So can you lose fat only eating 3 meals per day? Totally, because you just need to be in a calorie deficit. Now, I know you're thinking, well, it's probably not that easy. And no, it's not that simple. If you want to get the sickest physique outcomes from your fat loss phase, you are gonna have to probably prioritize protein more than you've ever prioritized it before. So just to get a little nerdy on you for like 2 seconds, there's this thing called muscle protein synthesis, MPS as the bros call it. And you can essentially stimulate muscle protein synthesis through food, through protein, probably every 3 to 5 hours. I'm sure there's some article that says something else, but in general, that's what it is. And so that's why traditionally all the bros over the years were eating 3, 4, 5, 6 meals a day, because it was just like every 3 hours, you could get a new hit of a muscle growing effect in your body. And if you want to grow the most muscle, that's a good thing, right? When you're dieting, you're probably not gaining muscle unless you just started training for the first time, or you had a lot of body fat to lose and you weren't training. And there are some stipulations, right? But in general, when you're losing fat, you're not gaining muscle. It's one or the other, right? You chase 2 rabbits, you catch none. So in terms of protein, we don't have time on this video to get into it, but basically that golden rule of thumb of eating about 1 gram of protein per pound of your body weight, or if you're very overweight, whatever your goal weight is, right? So if you're 200 pounds, but you should probably be like 120 pounds, then you should probably shoot for about 120 grams of protein per day if you want to optimize your body recomposition outcomes, right? So you can lose weight by being in a calorie deficit, but if you eat more protein, you're gonna preserve all the lean stuff, right? So as your body's getting shrink wrapped, we're ditching the fat and keeping everything else, you're just more likely to keep the lean tissue that you have. And that's that look that people like at the pool, right? The lean, sort of semi-peeled look. Because when people say they want to lose weight, I do believe that there are generally some people who just want to get to a number and that's all they care about. That's not me, but when I say I want to lose weight, what I'm really saying is that I want to lose body fat and keep everything else. Now let's talk about another really important aspect of getting lean, right? All we've talked about is food right now, and this whole like, if it's all about eating less and moving more, all we really talked about is eating less. Eat a little bit less, right? So that it's sustainable. And remember that it doesn't have to suck. Like sometimes I've had clients be like, all right, we're doing it. And they get into this super aggressive calorie deficit because they don't have any idea about what's actually in foods. So they're eating like 2 eggs for breakfast and they're having a leafy salad with no protein for lunch, a leafy salad with no protein for dinner. And then at night they're starving. That's because you literally had like 600 calories that day. Maybe. 600 calories, that's what I eat for breakfast. So just remember that there's an entire other side of the equation here, which is the activity portion. So like you can get lean by eating less only and just living your life and not exercising. You can legit do that. Or you can get lean by eating a little bit less and doing a little bit more. Sweet. You can also get lean by eating the same amount you've been eating, but doing a lot more. Now, I think that has diminishing returns, to be fair, and you're more likely to get quicker results if you just get your food in check. It's the least time-consuming way to lose fat for sure. Because if you have to do an hour on the treadmill every day, that's an hour of your life. If you have to eat 300 less calories on a daily basis, that's 0 hours of your life. You see what I'm saying? Eating less is the most time-efficient way to lose body fat. But anyway, let's talk about exercise. Real talk, probably the easiest way for normal people to lose body fat is just to walk more, straight up. When I lost 31 pounds, I had a step goal every day and I smashed it. I was still eating plenty of food, I felt really good. I was walking a lot, and if you want specific numbers, I started around 10,000 steps per day and I got all the way up to 15,000 steps per day. Make no mistake, 15,000 steps per day is no joke. You gotta go after that stuff. You gotta go on walks. You gotta find friends. You gotta take lunch breaks, walk with your spouse, walk your dog twice, get up in the morning. You have to do it. Like 15,000 steps is never gonna happen casually unless you just happen to be hiking Pikes Peak, which you're not. All right, so this is only my second YouTube video. I'm sure this was super convoluted and confusing, but hopefully I was able to piece it together in a way that made sense for you. I just want to recap super quick. Number one, realize that every fad diet you've ever seen for fat loss was trying to get you into a calorie deficit by creating simple rules for you to follow. Number two, calorie deficit means eating less than your current metabolic needs. So if you're currently maintaining on about 2,800 calories per day, eating 2,500 or 2,400 calories a day is probably going to ignite some fat loss. Getting into a caloric deficit for long enough is the key, and because the long enough part is so important, it has to be sustainable, right? Once you've understood sort of the energy balance rules of how this all works and thermodynamics, you just have to figure out how to make sense of that in your own life. That's why intermittent fasting works so well for some people, because you automatically slash a full meal's worth of calories when you just don't eat until noon, right? Intermittent fasting probably isn't magic. It's probably just an awesome tool to get into a caloric deficit. Remember that you're gonna have to prioritize protein a little bit more if you wanna have the best outcomes, right? So if you want to just totally just deflate and wither away and you don't care about maintaining your lean muscle mass, who cares about protein, right? But if you want to keep your lean body mass and preserve your muscle, eat protein, eat about 1 gram per pound of body weight per day of your goal weight. And like, I'll be doing 1.5 million videos on this channel, so don't worry if this is all too vague. I got you. I'm coming back next time with some more information. And then lastly, remember that science-based and optimal is cool, and everybody, especially in the fitness space, is already talking about what's optimal and science-based, and like that's for sure good, and I love that stuff, but for a lot of people, it's just not doable, right? So if eating 30 grams of protein 6 times a day isn't your jam, don't worry about it. Do what you can do, fit it into the system the best you can, and understand that adherence and optimal, there's always gonna be a trade-off there, right? Do what's best for you. Anyway, let's wrap it up. There's no way that video was actually 5 minutes unless I'm like the new like editing wizard of all time, because you don't know this, but I just babbled in my living room for 20 minutes. I just want to say thank you again for tuning into the channel. Thank you for your patience. There's a story about why it took so long for me to get the second video out after the first one, but we're back. We're going to be posting. The videos are coming at you. I'm excited. Thanks again for tuning in. Hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Hit the notification bell. I would appreciate it. I'll check in with you guys next time. See ya.